have any questions or if you want me to go over anything as I'm going. But I'm going to start recording, and I'm going to minimize Discord for now and open up Piskel. Okay, so in our game, rewards can be a lot of different kinds of things. And so, rewards can be something that you get like a power up or, a magic spell or armor or weapon or something like that. We're going to start simple. So we're just going to have a couple different rewards. I'm going to make sort of an item that you can collect. So it's almost like, coins in Mario or something like that. Just a simple item to collect. And then I'm going to make an extra heart or like a life. So, at the beginning of the game, if you have 3 lives and then you get hit by something, you lose a life, then this will give you back that life. So I'm just going to do those 2 things for this demo. They're going to be pretty simple, but you can add other types of rewards to your game if you have other ideas for stuff that your character can collect as you're playing the game. So you don't have to do it exactly like this, but you can use this as kind of a starting point. So I'm going to use 32 by 32 as my default size. That's going to be fine. I want it to be smaller than the player. And so I'm going to save this as, I'm going to start with reward. And my first reward, I'm just going to do an apple, just as an example. And so when I click save, I want to go to my project folder and go to art for my for the Piskel files. And I'm going to make a new folder and call this rewards and go in here. And so this is going to be my apple. And I'm going to do just something really simple. So I want to make like a little outline first, as usual. I'm going to make a circle. And then I'm going to center my circle using this align image to the center button. And then I'm going to go to a new frame. So I'll hit N. And for this first one, I'm not doing the animation yet. So I'm going to turn the animation FPS down to 0. And I'm just going to use this outline and draw around that. So I'm going to make a little apple. It'll be red, so it stands out. So I'm going to choose red. I'll make it kind of like a middle, not too light, not too dark. Whoops. And I'm just going to draw an outline to start. So I'll draw a little dent there and a little dent there. And there's my apple. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for now. So I'll get my bucket tool, hitting B, and just fill that in. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to do a really, really simple animation. So before I draw any more detail, I'm going to delete my original frame. And then I'm going to duplicate this frame. I think I can do that with Shift N. I'm going to duplicate the frame a few times. And I'm just going to make it look like the apple is kind of rotating. So I'm going to go back to the first frame, take my pen tool, and I'm going to draw the apple's stem as kind of like a brown color. And I'm going to make it kind of just like rotating around. So it's not going to be the most sophisticated animation you've ever seen, but it'll give the sense of motion. So we'll kind of see the apple moving around. So let's draw the stem like that. Should I make it bigger? Yeah, that's pretty good. And then let's turn our animation back on. Maybe I'll do like 6 frames per second. Go to the next frame. And so now I'll just draw the stem straight up. And gotta make sure to cover. There we go. And so now let's draw the stem going kind of off to the left. Okay. And then one more in the middle. Maybe I'll do a little bit of edge there. Okay, so now it kind of looks like it's rotating. It's a little bit up in the frame, so I'm gonna grab my move tool and I'm gonna use Control to move it down a bit. Oops. But I want to apply, I want to use Shift rather. So Shift will apply to all frames. So I'm going to hold Shift and move it down just a bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of shading. So I'll use my light and darken tool, and I'll hold shift and just add like a couple of highlights to one side, and then I'll hold control shift to do some darker shadows on the other side. And then I'll add these details in to make it look like it's just kind of rotating around. So nothing too fancy, but just want to give a little bit of movement so our player can notice that this apple is moving, and it'll stand out a little bit, and hopefully they'll know that they can collect it. So let's finish this highlight and shadow. Okay, and I'll turn off the onion skin. It looks a little goofy, like they're kind of like jumping around, so I might want to fix that a little bit. I also want to put like more of a little bump in the bottom, like that. Yeah, I think that looks better, so I'm going to select this and copy, and then just paste on my other frames. Okay, I have to go under that. Okay, copy. I need to add a line. Okay. Let's go from here. Copy, cut and paste. Oh. Copy, paste, there we go. Cut, and then copy, and paste. I'm just hitting Control C, Control V to fix this. And then I'll cut up here and copy and paste. So that's the nice thing with this selection, is that it stays in the same place when I move from frame to frame. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it's good enough. Maybe I also want to add like a little leaf on there to add just a little more color to the composition. So maybe there's like a little, oops, I have to get my pen back. So I'll just add like a little leaf that's also traveling around. Pretty simple, but adding just a little bit more color there. That looks okay. Okay, that's good enough. I don't need to spend forever on this. So I'm just gonna save this, and I'm gonna export. So I'm gonna go to export and click download to get my sprite sheet. And I'm already open in my game, but what I wanna do is go to MMP 270, go to my game, go to sprites, and then this is reward underscore apple. So I wanna have reward at the beginning so they're next to each other when I'm building it. So I'm gonna click save. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna go to my next sprite, which is the heart that I'm gonna use for the extra life. I'll just close this one. So this one I'm gonna do an even simpler animation. So I'm gonna save this first as reward life. Click save as, and we're in the rewards folder, so that's good. So I'll click save. Okay, so now for my heart, I want like a pink color, something like that. So it'll look a little bit different. And I'm gonna do another circle for an outline and center it, and then go to the next frame. And so I'll just draw, oops, undo. Okay, so I've got my pen tool. I'm just gonna draw, oops, I switched my colors. Okay, switch them back with X. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw a heart like that and fill it in. Okay, so for my first animation, oh, I forgot to do the collected animation for my apple. Whoops, that's okay. We'll go back and do it in a second. Okay, so for my reward life, okay, so I have my heart. So the first animation that I want to do is when the heart is just sitting there, and I'm just going to make it kind of like pulse, basically. So I'm just going to make it smaller. So I'm going to duplicate this frame and take my eraser and just kind of erase around the edges. Okay. And let's turn the animation back on. And then I'll duplicate the frame again and erase it even more. Although it's starting to look less like a heart. Let's bring this down a little bit. Bring this. Okay. Took a little too much off here. Okay, that's decent. Okay, so that's enough animation just so that we can see that it's going. So I'm gonna save that. And then I forgot to do this with my Apple. I'm gonna go back and do that in a second. So I have the animation for when it's just sitting there, but I also need an animation for when my character actually collects it. So I'm gonna duplicate the first frame and bring this down here. And I'll use a different technique for this. You could make a separate sprite sheet, but since it's just a few frames, I'll put these into the same sprite sheet. And so what I'll do for this one, I'll just make it kind of like dissolve. So there's different ways that you could do this. I'm just gonna kind of make this one dissolve, but you can really do like different ways of making it disappear. You could like make it fade out, or you could make it kind of like, you know, burst or something like that, whatever you wanna try. I'm gonna just erase some stuff so it kind of fades out. So let me get my eraser. And I'm just gonna erase like a bunch of different parts all over here. Okay, and then I'll duplicate that and then erase some more stuff. I'm just doing like the most simple kind of like basic way that I can think about it. So I'm just kind of dissolving. Oops, I have to duplicate, not create new. Okay, so let's erase a bunch more and erase more of the outside as well. So it kind of shrinks in a little bit. And get rid of all these. Okay, and do one more. I don't need a frame that's empty because obviously once it's gone, it'll just be gone. So I'll just take out a few more of these. And then the next frame will just be the heart is gone. So we don't really need to show that. Okay, so now I've got my two animations. So the first 3 frames is just going to be when the heart is sitting there so the player can find it. And then the last bunch of frames is when the player collects it, it's going to disappear. So we have to remember we actually need different animations for the different states for our components. So let me open up my, let me export this first, and then I'll open up my Apple and add the second animation. So when I go to export and click download, go to MMP 270, my game sprites, and here's the reward life. I'm gonna save that. And now I'm gonna go back to my Apple. So I'm gonna go to import, browse Piskel files, reward Apple, click open. Okay, so for the Apple animation, I'm just gonna take the first frame, I'm gonna duplicate it and move it down here. So my first animation is those 4 frames. And then for my collected animation, I'm gonna do something really simple again. I'm just gonna erase parts of the apple, but this time I'll make it look like my player ate the apple. So I'll take like a little bite out of here and then duplicate that. Take another little bite out of here, duplicate that, take another bite up here and duplicate that. And then I'll just have a little last bite there. Okay, so now we can see that animation as well. It's just gonna, when the player gets to the apple, we'll just turn that animation on. And so it looks like the player is eating the apple. Okay, so I need to re-export this. So I'm gonna click export, click download, and I'm already in the sprites folder. And I wanna replace the sprite that I have there. So I'm gonna click save. And I should be done. So let's just double check. I'm gonna go into Piskel, go to my game, or my game file, go to sprites, and let's see, have my reward apple. Okay, and we zoom in, see that. Oh, and there's my reward life. So it actually made a different copy of the reward apple So that'll happen sometimes if it won't like replace it. So I'm just gonna delete the original one that I had, and I'll rename this one. I'll just take out the 1 at the end. Okay. So now I'm good. If I want to post this on the Open Lab this is the, if we look at the skill tree real quick, this would be for the artist, for the, let's see, rewards. And so for this one, you can, create rewards. You can create whatever you want. And then you just need the 2 states, the 2 different animations, idle and collected, and then export those spreadsheets. Okay, so for the art part of this, that's all you need to do. We will go over how to add this into Godot on Thursday, and we'll do a little programming along with that. All right, so I'm going to stop recording and